explain a few things about our DR365 appliance. This appliance is purpose-built appliance. We call it DR365V. This appliance is a single node appliance. We also have HA node appliance and scale-out appliance, which I'll explain in different videos. The R365V appliance, as I said, is a special built appliance for Veeam, it has different components which we go through it. One is starts from the storage. The storage here is going to be 12 gig SAS, and it's a 4-lane, so it will give us a 48 gigabit per second transfer rate. And which is pretty fast, is enterprise class hard drives, so it can last you a long time and has a highest reliability for enterprise. It also has optional SSDs, so you can add SSD, flash SSD. These are again enterprise SSD with the high write per day numbers, so it can last you many years to come, and it's very fast. It adds quite a bit of IOPS to your appliance, usually 10 to 20 times that you might get from the hard drives, and we'll explain to you how it would you would be able to use them. Another component of this one is RAID controller. The RAID controller is a hardware RAID controller, and as a hardware RAID controller, it has its own processing processor that processes all the RAID functionality. It supports RAID 0, it's 1, 5, 6, and also 10. So it's a 0, 1, 10, 5, 6. And it also supports spares, so you can have with the RAID 1 or RAID 10 or 5 or 6, you would be able to have spare drives. And it's good most of the time. We configure this for RAID 6 plus hot spare. And the reason for that is that you can have 2 failures at the same time, so 2 drives can fail and still the system will work. And the spare, hot spare, will kick in for any drives that you have failed. So you have plenty of protection for your hard drives. The next component to this system is the hypervisor. This system is fully virtualized from the storage stack point, from the server or compute area, which brings the data and backup your machines, and also the network. So all these guys are software-defined network is in there, software-defined storage is in there, and fully virtualized servers are in there. And these components, the layer of the hypervisor, you can choose to be a VMware or a Hyper-V. Either one that you use, you can match it with service and licensing that you currently have in your environment, being a VMware or Hyper-V. And you can choose, for example, the VMware Essential, Essential Plus, Enterprise, Enterprise Plus, anything that makes you comfortable to connect to your current admin administration for virtualization, such as vSphere. So this appliance will present itself as another host on vSphere, and you see all the virtual machine that it it creates as part of its backup, and you can directly access it through your VMware management and be able to see your backups, and you can spin them up and so on and so forth. And other 2 components that are critical to this system, one is a storage controller, and another one is Veeam itself. So Veeam actually runs as an integrated unit on this appliance. So you don't need a separate appliance to host your Veeam. And not only it does run Veeam, but it also runs its proxies. So if you need high performance and more concurrent backup, you can deploy more instances of Veeam, which is we call proxies. And the proxies could be running the workload for you, means backing up your servers. So the Veeam becomes a director or manager, and the proxies will take over and run the workload concurrently. This will help you to fully utilize the systems and have maximum backup throughput, and your backup windows will shrink. And we also talked about the storage controller that is supported and integrated into this appliance to support Veeam. There's three types of storage stack is in this appliance. This is an enterprise level storage. It supports iSCSI as block mode storage, and then NAS as a file mode storage repository, and then object storage. The iSCSI storage is used for the databases, for high performance operations. So anything that Veeam is supposed to do and needs very high performance storage and has to be maybe block mode. So this will provision the block mode storage for those operations. The NAS is used for mostly proxy servers, which they need to have shared storage. So brings the data in there for Veeam to take it, and then archives or other application which sharing is critical. For example, any user ability to restore their own files. For example, you can have repository which they would also have some sort of access to those files. Object storage is mostly cloud, which has we support two different type of cloud object. One is S3 for Amazon, and the other one is the Azure cloud. So these are the two object storage are supported, and then you can use them for replication, archiving, and application like that. Of course, the storage, since it's an enterprise storage, it supports enterprise data services such as a snapshot, replication, dedupe, encryption, tiering, caching, and cloud connection. Now, as we said, like for example, some of the features are very important to you, like the snapshot. It takes its own snapshot continuously, and it puts it in a read-only repository. And so when it's mostly we call it immutable type of repository for the user, that if the ransomware comes in, will not be able to easily go in there and destroy your read-only files unless it's manually be able to mount those repositories and be able to access it, which usually ransomwares do not mount any kind of volumes, and this would be mostly manual operations that you need to do. That's one level of protection for you. The other level of protection is basically this repository. It's a different type of operating system, and it's the file system is different than your Veeam. And so whatever attacks your Veeam, it cannot traverse to this file system because they're not the same file system structure. So it's not able to see it. And so that's another protection. And then we isolate with authentication. So it has to have separate authentication, which is basically, again, it would be hard for any kind of hacking or any kind of ransomware to traverse from your Veeam or your network to this unit. Other things that this appliance has, as I said, is a caching and tiering. Those are the caching is used for iSCSI block mode. So all the traffic comes in will hit the cache first, and then it goes through the hard drive. So that accelerates your throughput, megabyte per second, and even IOPS that you need for database. So in case that you're going to use iSCSI storage, and if you're going to use NAS storage, you can use it as a tiered storage, and tiered storage is policy based. So you can set up a policy of the most used or the most the less used, or you can set up the policy that if the files, for example, has been around for longer than 30 days or 20 days, for the time longer time moves to the lower storage, so it moves it to the lower storage, either being lower storage of T or lower tier storage within hard drives or the cloud. So it can move those data within to a lower tier, and or less used files, for example, and it can move those less used files to the lower tier storage. The appliance has a 10 gig 1 and 10 gig node network connection. So there's two network connections, and these are for data, and they are 1/10 gig RJ45, and you can upgrade that to SFP plus, and it also has management port, and at the same time we use that for IPMI, which is basically manages this appliance for reboots, resets, remote managements, and everything else at the BIOS level. So you do have like a remote KVM basically for this appliance. And as I said, this appliance has capability to connect to the cloud and replicate your workload to the cloud. Also, since this appliance has a storage stack, which is iSCSI, NAS, and object, this storage can be used as a target storage for any kind of servers, virtual or physical, outside. So you can actually put user VMs in this and basically run workloads, store things. And so this is also can be, if you need to, use as an iSCSI or NAS storage, or NAS storage primary for this application outside the appliance. Has a dual use, I guess, for backup and being a target storage. If you have any questions, please let us know. As I said, this appliance is a 12 bay. You can choose a number of drives you want, then the RAID level you want. If you want to add optional SSDs, please do so. And other factors that you need to size this up is memory and CPU. It depends how many virtual machine you want to run this appliance. Based on those workload of how many virtual machine will be. If you want to use this appliance as a DR appliance, spin up your virtual machine in case your host or virtual machine goes down, you need to have enough memory and CPU to run that. If you're going to use the dedupe feature on this, you will need to increase the memory by 1 gigabyte per terabyte that you're going to dedupe. So for example, if they are going to do 100 terabyte volume, dedupe it, and so you need 1 gigabyte per terabyte, so it's 100 gig that you need to add to the appliance. So you want to make sure you have enough memory for dedupe if you are going to do that, and enough memory and CPU if you decide to run this as a virtual DR appliance. Thank you very much for your time.